everybody. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Desert. As we begin, we acknowledge that we are on the historic homelands of the various bands of the Kaweah people, and we honor the unique relationship that we hope emerges between our community and the indigenous people and their traditional territories. Let this acknowledgement serve as a reminder to recognize, honor, reconcile, and partner with the Kaweah people, whose lands and water we benefit from today. In this congregation, we welcome people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, of all ages and sizes, people of all economic statuses and professions, of all physical and mental abilities, people of all races and ancestries and cultures. We welcome you wherever you come from, whoever you love, whatever your immigration status or civic engagement. We welcome all those who will learn and grow with us as we commit together to embrace the rich and beautiful diversity of the world and to build a community centered in justice, compassion, and love. We welcome you here. We're glad you are here with us this morning. I'd like to take a moment now to greet newcomers and visitors. If you are here for the first time and are comfortable, you're invited to stand or raise your hand, and Linda will come to you with a microphone. Right now, please just share your name and where you're from, and after the service, we can get to know you better at our coffee hour. Anybody want to share? Okay. If you feel like you are new and you don't want to share, please don't hesitate to chat with us after in the coffee hour. There are no announcements today. If you would like to be on our email list to learn more about us and our programming, please contact us at admin@uucod.org. And now, the ringing of the Tibetan bowl.
Good morning, again. I'm the Reverend Ian Riddell, and I have the honor and delight of serving this congregation as its minister. However you found us, however many times you've been here with us in person or online, welcome. We are a congregation and a tradition that celebrates the richness and beauty of individual lives and commits to working together to weave a tapestry made stronger and more vibrant by our collaboration and by the sharing of our lives and our visions for a thriving future for all life. We strive together to build the beloved community of resilience, hope, and love in the face of fear and apathy. We practice the opening of hearts, the working of hands, and the lifting of spirits in the service of love. And we share the sacred breath. We gather together to build the beloved community, breath by breath, word by word, note by note, step by step. We gather together to sing and speak and dance and breathe the beloved community into being. This is our work. This is our calling. This is our joy. Welcome to worship today. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit as we sing our opening hymn together, number 360 in the hardcover hymnal. The words are also on the screen. Here we have gathered.
Side by side, circle of kinship, come and step inside. May all who find a kindly word. May all who speak here feel they have been heard. Sing now together this our heart's own song. Here we have gathered, called to celebrate days of our lifetime, matters small and great. We of all ages, neighbors, sibling, kin, infants and sages, sharing what we can, sing now together this our heart's own song. Life has its battles, sorrows and regrets, but in the shadows let us not forget. We who now gather know each other's pain. Kindness can heal us as we give, we gain. Sing now in friendship this our heart's own song.
Now we have the chalice lighting and unison aspiration. May love be the spirit of this church. May the quest for truth be its sacrament, and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to help one another in friendship. This is our aspiration. I've asked Robert to come and light the Biapak candle. Thank you. We light these candles in solidarity with Black, Indigenous, and other people of color as we journey together to spiritual wholeness. May we, as a beloved community, work to dismantle racism and all forms of oppression. May we live our principles so that justice, dignity, and equity for all prevails. Thank you. As I grew up, I heard people say they loved me and others. Their actions often did not show up in a loving way. I grew up not really believing I was worthy of love or lovable. I tried to behave in a way that would grant me the love I so desperately crave. Over the years, I have done the work to discover that in fact I am lovable. So you can understand why love is the center of my core values. Love of our fellow humans, love of nature, especially trees. Love that is expressed in giving, not taking. It shows up in the generosity of giving others the dignity of their own journey. Love is at the root of my strong belief in justice, equity, and interdependence for all. This is why I fit here at UUCOD. Now we will have the share the plate. Share the plate this month is for the Pacific Southwest. First of all, I want to say, I kind of changed it a little bit. I want to say a special thank you to the Social Justice Committee for the work they've done for today's Share the Plate recipient. Today we will share the plate with the Planned Parenthood of the Pacific Southwest Abortion Access Fund. It's a mouthful. Unfortunately, the representative from Planned Parenthood was unable to join us today. We have a brief video to show you. Jacqueline Casillas is the donor relations manager for Planned Parenthood, of the Pacific Southwest, and she has prepared the video. Let's watch it now.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting us to join you once again. I am Jackie Casillas, Donor Relations Manager at Planned Parenthood of the Pacific Southwest. It is an honor to be here with you, even if it is virtually. And though we are living through a time where reproductive health care is under attack like never before, it is my charge to bring you some updates on the state of affairs in our region. Planned Parenthood of the Pacific Southwest provides essential reproductive health care services, education, and advocacy across a vast 3 Southern California counties. That's San Diego, Imperial, and Riverside. In 2022, our 19 health centers served over 230,000 patients. That translates to over 50,000 people who sought and were able to get contraception, over 20,000 people who sought and were able to get abortion services, and over 25,000 people who were able to get cancer screenings and preventative treatment. And that's just to name a few of our services. It also means that over 1,300 people were able to get the gender-affirming hormone therapy and care that they needed and deserved. Our 3-pronged approach to care in our communities means that while our 19 health centers are working hard to provide access to compassionate sexual and reproductive health care without shame or judgment, our community education specialists also managed to distribute over 600,000 condoms last year, and over 8,000 students received in-depth sex ed from our educators. And through the Planned Parenthood Action Fund of the Pacific Southwest, our public affairs team has been working tirelessly to advocate for statewide bills that improve access to care and reproductive rights. We are doing what we do best, which is providing excellent care to patients. But the road has been long and tumultuous. The overturning of Roe v. Wade last summer created a new era of fear and uncertainty for far too many. In the months following the detrimental Dobbs decision, there has been a rapid increase in attacks on reproductive health care. As of June 2023, as many as 21 states have abortion restrictions or bans in place to make it difficult, if not impossible, for people to access care. We know that the right to abortion has never been enough to guarantee access to it. Indeed, systemic racism and discrimination has ensured that Black, Latinx, and Indigenous people, immigrants, people living with low incomes, and people in rural areas continue to carry the burden of these bans. Sadly, the majority of states with highly restrictive abortion bans also have highly restrictive bans on gender-affirming care, and that's impacting trans and non-binary people in particular. Many of these bans target doctors for providing life-saving healthcare. These restrictions, as well as the discrimination, stigma, shame, and misinformation that's used to enforce them, are dangerous and extremely harmful, and they go entirely against Planned Parenthood's mission. More locally, earlier this month, one of our health centers, the Planned Parenthood Imperial Valley Home Center in El Centro, burned down. While we are grateful that no staff or patients were injured during the incident, the fire has resulted in a total loss of the health center. The loss of our sole Imperial Valley Center will be felt throughout our communities and beyond. And yet, despite these tremendous restrictions to abortion access, the continued attacks on trans and LGBTQ+ rights, and even catastrophic fires, we remain committed to our mission to give every person the opportunity to choose their own path to a healthy and meaningful life. We are committed to rebuilding our health center in Imperial Valley, and we are committed to continue to fight for bodily autonomy. But we can't do it without your support. We appreciate the generosity of our friends at the UU Church of the Desert for inviting us here, for setting the table, and for sharing the plate. Thank you all for your support, for your time, and for standing with us in our communities year after year. Thank you.
Please give as generously as your budget allows. The funds will be critical for providing reproductive health care and abortion access for many people. Thank you. And the ushers will now come forward and make their collections.
Pause now in a time of quiet and reflection. So often there are many words, and there are many more words coming after this moment. So I'm going to invite us just to pause in a longish quiet, breathe together in the love of this space, the love of this community, and in the embrace of the love that reminds us always that we are not alone. Let us breathe quietly together. May all beings know peace. May all beings know an end to suffering. May all beings know love. Will you join your voices, share that breath that we have cultivated together as we sing together our hymns for meditation, Spirit of Life, Fuente de Amor.
So in the
Isn't that a beautiful day today? It's that time of year, again, when the weather is hinting at cooling down. Don't be tricked, but it's hinting. It's hinting. When school is back in session, when the people who have fled the desert to avoid the heat and those who are fleeing other parts of the country to avoid the coming cold are returning here to the valley. The grocery stores are busier, the restaurants are getting busier, the dog park is getting busier, and the traffic is picking up again. And as much as I do enjoy the ease and quieter months here, it is wonderful to see more people and more life and more activity happening. And we've been welcoming lots of new visitors here through our doors over the past weeks. Whatever brought you here, we hope you're finding something meaningful and welcoming and that you'll come back. We hope that what you find here is a community that strives to live love into the world, that is inspired and challenged by love to build a community of generosity, welcome, inclusion, and justice, a community that supports those who participate to learn and explore and do the work of love and kindness and justice in the world. And maybe you'll even want to become more involved over time. There are lots of, this is for everybody, by the way, there are lots of classes and activities and groups to get involved with, and about twice a year, we offer an orientation class for folks who are considering formally becoming members of the congregation, and for those who want to learn a little bit more about this place, this congregation, and the tradition that it's part of. As part of that orientation, I usually share a bit about the history of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. Sometimes I even do that succinctly. Sometimes I get a little carried away. Either way, it's something I love sharing. We'll be offering that orientation in 2 sessions on October 22nd and 29th after service. I hope you'll check in with one of our greeters if you're interested. As those days come closer, I've been thinking about our history as a tradition, thinking about the ways that Unitarian Universalists and Unitarians and Universalists before our traditions merged. If you want to know more about that, come to the class. In the early 1960s, about the ways our ancestors in this faith have always been exploring what it is that unites us as a tradition, as a religious people. What are the things that we claim in common within this tradition that has no specific creed? What are our core values, and how might we express those values in ways that meet the needs of our people and the times that we live in? This is a question we have asked ourselves, that those who came before us have asked over and over and over again. One of the ways we have done it lives on in the words that we regularly share to use to light our chalice. May love be the spirit of this church. May the quest for truth be its sacrament and service be its prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration. This is one of the ways that we as a tradition in the past have decided we might express who we are and what our values are. Another of the ways we have done it is in what have become the 7 and now 8 principles that we share in our current Unitarian Universalist communities, which you can find each and every week on the back of your order of service. Our ways of describing who we are, what we collectively and individually believe, what we rally around or use to teach and learn, have changed over time and often quite radically. Today I want to take some time to share a little bit of history with you and to share some of what's going on in our larger denomination. Now, not all of this is poetic, I'm sorry to say, but I think it's vital to explore this together today. And if you are new and it feels odd to be talking about denominational bylaws, I'll get to that in a minute, trust that there is something in those bylaws, something in our exploration of them that speaks to who we are, and that's what I'm hoping to share today. Now, back in the early 19th century, so I'm bouncing around here, Unitarians were grappling with how to describe and understand themselves as being different from other Christians of the time. They were facing doubt and argument from more traditional communities that questioned their abandoning, seemingly, of certain parts of Christian dogma. Now, ministers, as you may know, have a habit of trying to work these things out in public in sermons. And in 1841, Unitarian minister Theodore Parker preached a sermon entitled "The Transient and Permanent in Christianity." What he said in that sermon was basically this: there are parts of religion that are eternal, permanent, that don't change with the ebbing and flowing of civilization and understanding. And there are parts of religion that change, depending on the mood of the era, the needs of the community, and sometimes the whims of the powerful. He made it pretty clear which of these two he thought were most important and true. He said, an undue place has been assigned to forms and doctrines, while too little stress has been laid on the divine life of the soul, love to God, and love to man. So that is the language of the time, how he would speak. Forms and opinions change and perish, he wrote. They are the robe and not the angel. But some cling to those notions as if they were Christianity itself. In that sermon in 1841, Parker was specifically saying that reading the Bible as if it was the direct, inerrant work of the divine was putting the transient in place of the permanent. That what was real was what the words were pointing to, the love at the heart of the divine spirit. The specific words were the words of human beings writing centuries ago. The heart of the matter was love. In the same way, he critiqued the idea that Jesus was divine in the way that so many believe, but was permanent and central to Jesus. What he said was the divine love he shared. I think for Parker, way back in 1841, figuring out what was necessary in religion and separating it from what changed with the times was one of the central acts of figuring out our religious commitments. Paying attention to what is truly central. I said I was going to bounce around. Another time when we intentionally examined what values we were at the core of our tradition and how we're called to live those out in new and more expansive ways was a few years ago, was exploring the report of the Commission on Institutional Change, the report called Widening the Circle of Concern, which was published in 2020, which we have talked about quite a bit here and which spurred this congregation to refocus its efforts on transformation towards inclusion, diversity, and belonging, a work that is lifelong work. The report highlighted in many ways in which, despite our stated values, we as Unitarian Universalists individually and in our institutions had sometimes failed to live into those values, faltered in living those values into our communities and lives, even though those were the words we were saying. It called to mind to me this morning Ginger's reflection about words of love not being matched with actions and attitudes. The report called for a deep culture shift toward inclusion and justice. Among its many recommendations, the Commission set out to remind us of the fact that we are a covenantal tradition. We say that quite often when we are distinguishing ourselves from more creedal traditions. But the Commission invited us to do better at realizing that being a covenanted community, covenant being the promises we make and how to live and be with each other, being a covenant community meant that we were actually accountable to each other. Our institutions were accountable. They wrote, returning to the practice of honoring covenant is essential in the world in which we find ourselves. The divisions between generations, between economic levels, and between people of different races, ethnicities, abilities, sexual orientations, and gender identities are unprecedented. If we remember that we are a covenantal faith, they continue, we have a better chance of surviving the changing perceptions and attitudes about religion and faith in our nation. We need, they say, to put a greater emphasis on what it means to be bound to one another in an interdependent web and in keeping with our covenanted tradition. The report was a reminder for us to keep covenant, the promises we make to each other and our communities, to keep those central in our hearts and minds as we work together to figure out how to live out our values in the world. Our work was not just about individual freedom, but also about collective responsibility to each other. Some of that work has been revisiting and re-examining our statements of values and aspirations, those principles and sources. And we, in this congregation, and in the Unitarian Universalist Association wide, have been engaged intentionally in this work for the past couple of years, some more than others and sometimes more intently than others. In May, I shared with you when I last spoke about the changes to our statement of principles, the history and practice we have of examining these statements of values regularly, asking ourselves, what are our core values and how might we express those values in ways that meet the needs of our people and the times we live in? Now, a reminder that our current sources and principles, these wonderful words on the back of the order of service, live inside Article 2 of the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association. We're an interesting denomination. Our religious statement lives in our bylaws. What that says about us, we can all figure out together. But in order to change that language, here's where the poetry disappears. In order to change that language, a proposal of new language needs to pass with a simple majority at our annual National General Assembly, simple majority, and then by 60% at a vote at the very next General Assembly. Twice it has to pass. In May, we shared the language that had been proposed by the Article 2 Commission, and a reminder that this new statement centered around 6 values that grow out of our central commitment to love. And those values are, as Ginger highlighted earlier, interdependence, equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and justice. Throughout the spring and leading to the Unitarian Universalists General Assembly this past June, individual UUs and groups of UUs and congregations proposed revisions, amendments, changes, and additions. We do like to edit collectively to the proposed languages, and those suggestions were discussed over time in several gatherings, including several sessions at General Assembly. There was much support for the new language, and there were many suggested changes. There were those who didn't want us to leave the 7 principles behind, who were afraid that we would be leaving behind who and what we have been. And there were those who were really convinced we needed new language to reflect the ways that we want to live out our values into the world, and that this proposal language represented that well. And there were folks in the middle of that and all around as well. There were amendments proposed that seek to reinsert the 7 principles back into the new language, and amendments that added more values to the list, including reason or peace. There were amendments that changed single words for more clarity. There were amendments that questioned the centrality of love. Now, it was impossible to debate and discuss all of the proposed amendments in the larger general session, and so eventually amendments were voted on. They were whittled down by conversation and voted on, and then the whole statement, including those amendments, was presented to the Assembly, which voted 83.6% in favor of the new language. Which means is that we Unitarian Universalists will spend this coming year studying the amended new language, exploring what it says, we contemplating this as a way to express our values. More amendments are possible, but the requirements for amendments are honestly very, very challenging. The intent is for the language to be essentially the same as was voted on this past June. Now, the Article 2 Commission will release a new version of the text soon, but for now, you can see a new version that has basically had the approved amendments inserted. I will share this online as part of my reading list from today's service, and I will include a link to it in next week's newsletter. I had planned to have printed out copies for you today, but my printer mojo disappeared today, And so it'll come to you by email. We'll have printed copies as well next week, because I know I'm talking about this language and you're like, what is it? I'm hoping that there are some copies out there of the unamended language on the table as well. I'm hoping you'll join in with all of us in reflecting on these values and eventually the language of the changes to our statement of those values. Each month this year, we will have a Sunday service and sermon focusing on one of the 6 values, starting next month, the 1st of October, when we'll focus on interdependence. November, we'll explore pluralism as we celebrate Pride, and in December, we'll focus on love. Our chalice circles will also focus their conversations each month on the same value as the service of that month. And I'm hoping that we'll have other conversations and reflect on the values in other ways as well. I've shared the themes for the month with many of our committees. We'll be having some post-service discussions, so keep your eye on the newsletter for information about those and other ways to engage. As we discuss and explore together, I want to invite us to be kind with one another. For some of us, our principles as they are currently worded hold great significance. And even though the underlying values may remain the same, their loss may bring grief and questioning. Others of us may be celebrating the new language because for them the current principles have felt inadequate or unhelpful. We are members of a community committed to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, and a community committed to treating each other with respect, care, kindness, curiosity, and love. I know we will carry these in our hearts as we engage in the coming year. For me, an important part of the new language is its expression of the covenants that grow out of each of these shared values. For me, this moves us in the direction suggested that I shared by the Widening the Circle report, reminding us that we gather as covenanting community, a community that is inspired by our shared values into action in our lives, in our congregation, and in the world at large. At our heart, in our hearts, is love. Love that calls us to dignity and kindness and justice. Love that calls us to build together the beloved community. I hope we can do that work together, engaging our minds and hearts and spirits in the building of new ways of living out our values, our very, very powerful values in the world. I hope you will join me in that work. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit as we sing our closing hymn today, Building a New Way.
Feeling stronger every day. We are building
No, in public speaking, at Toastmasters, they taught us never leave the podium abandoned, and I just did. So that's an awe count for me. Okay, where are we? We are here at the extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
In the words of the Article 2 Commission, love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. With the power of this possibility in our hearts, go in peace, my friends, to love and serve the world.